It is with sorrow to realize this once great country in which I was born and reared and enjoyed, to realize God has pronounced doom upon this country, to be no more in this age. When and how will be made known in this video. The handwriting of doom has been on the wall for some years. Some few have had the discernment to see its decline and are worried about its future. But most eyes have been closed to its condition, believing tomorrow will be the same as today. No cause for concern, but after the debate which was heard around the world, people are fearful for the country and for themselves. From the internet, but some Democrats have taken their panic public. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island said he was horrified by Biden's debate performance. Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, said it was legitimate to ask if it was the result of a condition. And Representative Lloyd Doggett of Texas became the first sitting Democrat in Congress to call for him to retire. From the Wall Street Journal, the opinion page, and I quote, "Throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the USA anymore," end quote. The 1960s is when erosion and decadence, the cultural decline, really began in this once great country and has since greatly deteriorated. And people who see this decadent condition wonder, how did this happen? How and why America is destroying itself? One could compare it to the metaphor of the proverbial frog. From Wikipedia, the boiling frog story is generally offered as a metaphor, cautioning people to be aware of even gradual change, lest they suffer eventual, undesirable consequences. The gradual change over many years has turned into an avalanche. Consider history. A great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself within, end quote. Many years ago, Abraham Lincoln, wisely with forethought, said in an address before the Young Men's Lyceum of Springfield, Illinois, January 27, 1838, and I quote, "If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide," end quote. When considering the state of America as it now is, his words will have come back to haunt both leadership and society in a short time to come, for what he said can easily be witnessed by the unbiased, astute mind. There are known leaders who voice and write what they are observing in this country. Even among the elected leadership, a few are expressing their belief this country is on its last feeble legs, as observed in a recent presidential debate, fearful it is dying as a nation. The debate brought out into the open the weakness of the leadership of this once great country. Knowing that America is vulnerable to a surprise attack by Russia, China, or another nation, fearful of a replay of the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor, December 1941, on an early Sunday morning when the Navy was sleeping. It would be well to take a page from history, knowing it has a way of repeating itself as it now is. Consider ancient unconquerable Babylon from 626 to 530 BC, its internal problems and its downfall while comparing it to America. In 539 BC, due to Babylon's internal problems, evil arrogance, and plotting their disdain of God, by their abominable, wicked, and evil laws, the fingers of an invisible hand, in this case it was visible, appeared on the plastered wall of the king's palace and began to write, and the king saw it. The inscription was read to the king by Daniel, a prophet of God. This is the interpretation of each word, meaning God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Perish, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That very night, Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, was killed. Daniel previously had said to the king, and I quote, "You have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven, and the God who holds your breath in his hands and knows all your ways, you have not glorified." End quote. This same is true with America. That is why the same inscription, though invisible to the human eye, is on America, written slightly above the 10 Commandments, on the door to the Supreme Court and other places in the nation's capital, and I quote from the internet. The Jewish lawgiver, meaning Moses, is depicted several times in the stone and marble edifice that is the Supreme Court building, and so are the 10 Commandments. In sculpture, Moses sits as a prominent figure atop the building's east side, holding 2 tablets representing the 10 Commandments, and on the wall directly behind the Chief Justice's chair, an allegorical majesty of law places his muscular left arm on a tablet depicting the Roman numerals 1, 2, X, end of quotes. This also will come back to haunt the justices, Congress, and past and future presidents in a short time to come for their denial of God and his laws that were seen daily but ignored. As it was with Babylon of old, so it is with America today, with all of its abomination, corruption, violence, and lawlessness, has also been found wanting, as prophecy makes known. Hostility is rife throughout society, leaving the country virtually divided. Crime is rampant. As to why, Habakkuk, the 1st chapter, tells us the law is powerless, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, therefore perverse judgment proceeds, end quote. As God used Cyrus of the Persian Empire to conquer Babylon, so God is going to use Assyria, Germany, to destroy America in approximately 2 years, 2026, as calculated by prophecy. Both America and Britain have become utterly corrupt in their societies and leadership. It has become so bad that doom has been prescribed. Therefore, the handwriting is on the wall for America. Due to their deplorable and wretched condition, God made known at that time their end-time fate, as found in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. And I quote, "The Eternal will bring a nation against you from afar," meaning, in this case, the scriptures show it to be Germany, "from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand." End of that quote. Due to the condition of this country, like Babylon of old, America and Britain are soon to be conquered by Assyria, Germany, and be no more as nations in this age. Need to realize when they look back, who did we fight? World War I, World War II. It was Germany. And they haven't forgotten. So considering the many abominable sins having taken place in America through the Clinton, Obama, and Biden years are comparable to the reign of King Manasseh of Judah. He seduced Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to do more evil than the nations whom the Eternal had destroyed before the children of Israel, as found in 2 Chronicles 33, verse 9. Through his prophets, God warned him and his people, but they would not listen. Therefore the Eternal brought upon them the captains of the armies of the king of Assyria, now known as Germany. God is warning America today by the use of his late Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong's recorded works. They can be witnessed on YouTube as well as on the internet. Whether listened to or not, they are there as a witness and warnings. In time to come, society will be judged by God for not having taken those warnings from those telecasts and making needful changes. As God numbered Babylon, so has he also numbered America, weighed in the balances, and found wanting. Therefore, America will go the same way as Babylon of old. The superpower nations of America and Britain will be conquered again by Germany as promised toward the close of World War II, when they said, and I quote, they would be back. Until then, bye, end quote. So a promise was made by Germany, taken from the documented quotes from the Plot Against the Peace, a book written by Michael Sayers and Albert E. Kahn. And it's entitled World War III, A Warning to This Nation. Nazi Germany's promise toward the close of World War II, and I quote, one day we shall come back. Until then, I'll be taught. French meaning goodbye, soon, soon, end quote. And God will use them as a rod to chasten his people as promised in Isaiah 10, verse 5. Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger, and the staff in whose hand is my indignation. I will send him against an ungodly nation and against the people of my wrath. I will give him a charge to seize the spoil, take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the street, just as they did all those many Jews, 6 million Jews in World War II. This will bring an end to this once great country. From the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7, verses 5 and 6. Thus says the eternal God, and the end has come, the end has come. It has dawned for you. Behold, it has come. Doom has come to you, you who dwell in the land. The time has come. A day of trouble is near. End quote. As to why, consider a few of the many abominations taking place in this country. Consider abortion, the murder of the unborn. Internet, the last year for which the CDC reported a yearly national total for abortions is 2021. It found there were 625,978 abortions in the District of Columbia and the 46 states with available data that year, up from 597,355 in those states and D.C. in 2020. The corresponding figure for 2019 was 607,720. Doctors have said, and I quote, intense agonizing pain experienced as their little heads are crushed inside their mother's womb. Sadly, no one hears their pitiful cries because of being inside the womb. Transgenders, another area. Operations to change the gender from one to the other. From the internet, and I quote, about 48,000 patients underwent such surgeries during the 5 years studied, with about 13,000 procedures done in 2019, the peak year, and 12,800 in 2020. A little more than half the patients were ages 19 to 30. Surgeries in patients 18 and younger were rare, fewer than 1,200 in the highest volume year, as in August 23, 2023. Those stats were taken. Then consider our abominable sins, as described by God in Romans chapter 1. Society has become conditioned to it, and no outcry of any size is made in opposition, even many support them. The LGBTQIA is an abbreviation for A in LGBTQIA, may also refer to ally, A-L-L-Y, or allied, meaning someone who does not identify as LGBTQIA, but supports those who do. A principle can be drawn from the following that reveals God's indictment against such people who close their eyes to such abominations, indicating their approval. As one woman said about couples living together without being married, and she said, I guess it's all right. Everyone's doing it. And that seems to be the attitude of pretty much everybody, regardless of what is going on in this country. But it's not ignored by God. He's looking down, and just as he dealt with the flood back during the time of Noah, as he dealt with Sodom and Gomorrah, God is no respecter, and he will certainly deal with this country, and his doom is coming soon. Taking a quote from Leviticus 20, verses 1 through 4, just drawing a principle from this, which says, if the people of the land should in any way hide their eyes from the man who, when he gives some of his descendants to Molech, this was a iron god with arms outstretched on which they would place their little babies, firstborn, and then they would roast them to death. And they do not kill him, then I will set my face against that man and his family, and I will cut him off from his people. So you can't be tolerant. You can't just accept these things. It should be an indignation within the minds and hearts of everyone, even though there's nothing you can do about it except to pray and ask God in heaven to deal with it. God will do the judging in time soon to come. God is very angry, knowing the evil that is rampant and pervasive in society is made known in the Holy Bible. Romans, the first chapter, taking only 3 verses from it, and I quote verses 29 through 31. Being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God. And they truly are. They don't think so, but they are. Violent, proud, boasters, inventor of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful. Verse 32, who knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. These scriptures picture society as it now is, and because of it, the handwriting of God is on the wall, found it wanting, therefore bringing an end to America in this age. It is sad to realize the terrible time in which we live. And to say people are unhappy, there's no peace of mind in the minds of all these people who are involved in all that or are tolerant of it. It's the most tragic time to realize what is taking place. It's such a once great country. And then we look forward pretty soon now to the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, because he's coming back probably very soon. A few short years from now, he'll return to earth and he'll begin his millennial reign. Stepping down on the Mount of Olives with his bride, 144,000 born-again saints, and establish his government and iron rule over all nations on earth, with dramatic changes made within those nations. Due to his righteous rule, peace and happiness will begin to prevail. It's a prayer of this church that you and others will heed God's warning for the protection Jesus Christ will have provided for his true and faithful people, and you included, if needed changes are made in time. From Isaiah 33, verse 16, such people will dwell on high. His place of defense will be the fortress of rocks. Bread will be given him. His water will be sure, because during that time, it will be a time of famine and all, and people will be starving to death. But God, those who obey God, will be spared from all that, as he said. His water will be sure, as well as bread be given to him. So the time of departure for the place of safety is close at hand, and preparation needs to begin now tomorrow may be too late. So this video has been made and given from a heart of caring love.